Uganda has spent 2.6%, 2.64% of GDP over a period of 25 years. Tanzania has spent 3.03%. Ethiopia has spent 2.91%. Rwanda has spent 3.69%. Malawi has spent 4.12%. Mozambique has spent 3.77%. Madagascar has spent 2.24%.
There are those who will be arguing, why would you want to compare our, because of the population size of the country? Should it be a weight or a plus? I mean, comparing expenditure on education and GDP as against the population.
See, your population becomes an advantage. At some point, Chinese population was a disadvantage, right? But they had to put their house in order, opened up their market, went into a free market economy, right? Opened up their borders, joined the World Trade Organization, right? They turned that massive population into an advantage. I'll give you an instance. I was giving a presentation sometime in Canada, and I trying to lure investment into the country, bring investments into the country, right? And the people asked me, they said, because it was manufacturing, and they asked me a question. They said, how much is the wages like? And I said, well, like an average, a factory worker, an average of like $200. And someone in the crowd, you know, among the panel said, but that's high. I said, what do you call high? And then somebody, because we were not like thinking, right? He thought I was talking about per day, because wages are, you know, like per hour there. Yeah. And then I thought he was talking about a month, until somebody now asked, is it per day or per month? And I said, oh, no, equivalent of $200 per day, per month. And the guy shouted. He said, so why aren't you guys using that advantage, right, to bring in manufacturing into your country? I'll tell you something the Western world looks at. Before they come in, right, that's why most of our FDIs are actually not in the manufacturing sector. Why? Because they know that you will lack the skills that they will need. And the burden on training will be on them, right? If you listen to Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, right? When he was making a case for Apple, why Apple goes to China, he wasn't talking about only the wages. He said if you want 10,000 labor force, right, from a region, you will get it immediately. And those labor force are what? They are trained. They have the right skills. If we do not invest in education, FDI that are manufacturing, right, the manufacturing arms of these companies will find it difficult to come into our economy, because they know that we lack the basic skills. And to get the basic skills they will need, they will have to do the training, which is an extra cost on their revenue.
So how do we move from that point now? Because if it is education that is should be the driving force to get us out of this poverty trap that you talk about, what do you think the government can do now, especially perhaps even the legislators?
Go and look at the budget.
You said, is it just a mere reversal? Will the reversal serve?
Yes, it's just reversal. We need to run an investment budget. If you run, the moment you're running an expense, right, once your expense supersedes your investment, you continue to get poorer. That's it. We need to reverse back to what we were doing in the 70s and early 80s.
So what percentage are in poverty now? What percentage of our population?
We have about 70% of Nigerians. Let me give you some data that will also interest you, right? Now, between 1981, right? All these countries in Asia had more poverty than us in 1981, right? In 1981, 47% of Nigerians were living in poverty, and that was 35.6 million. About 835 million Chinese were living in poverty. Indonesia was about 107.2 million. But over these years, guess what? Nigeria has added 90.4 million people to poverty. China has lifted out almost 800 million, 789.5 million. Indonesia has lifted out 78.5 million. Thailand has lifted out 29.44 million. Bangladesh has lifted out 24.3 million. Malaysia has lifted out 2.93 million. Philippines has added 7.2 million people. And that's why Duarte right? Their president is doing all what he's doing in the Philippines. All the drug lords, all the corruption, right? He's clamping down on them. Because those are part of the things that actually also lead to poverty. And then India has lifted out 137.2 million people. But Nigeria, at the same period, has added 90.4 million people to poverty. I'll explain something to you. Economic growth leads to economic development. Economic development leads to human development, right? And that's what's been taking place in all those countries. As the economy is growing, there's economic development. Go and look at all the indices of the Global Competitive Index, right? You find out that they are getting better year by year. And as they are getting better year by year, it's reflecting in human development, right? But what we have an economic growth that is not leading to economic development. And the economic development is not leading to human development. Let me break it down so that we understand. You have a house, you have a leaking roof, right? You don't have mosquito nets, right? Your leaking roof, when it rains, water comes in, your kids get pneumonia, right? Then, because your windows don't have mosquito nets, your kids get bitten by mosquitoes, and each time they develop malaria, right? Your driveway you have potholes. So it damages your tires every 3 months. Then they start to increase your salary. What happens? What will you do first? You will fix your roof, right? You will fix mosquito nets, right? You will pave your driveway, right? And as you do that, what happens? Pneumonia will reduce in your household. Malaria will reduce in your household. So your increase in salary is what? Is reflecting in what? In the way you've managed your infrastructure. And as your infrastructures get better, what happens? It reflects in the lives of the families that live under that roof. But what we've been having in Nigeria is the direct opposite. And that's what the other countries have been doing. That's why poverty is reducing.